Hello! Now that we have learned all of the individual sounds of English, it is important to understand how these sounds fit together. Obviously, as we have worked through each sound, we have given examples of words that use those sounds. Since words are made up of more than one sound, you have already had some exposure to how sounds fit together in order to produce different meanings. Something that we haven't talked much about are sounds that are commonly seen together. You have been introduced to the consonant-vowel-consonant structure, and you have been told that every word in English must have a vowel sound. However, something that we haven't talked about much yet is that sometimes you can have multiple consonants come together, each producing their own sound. These combinations typically have 2 or 3 consonants that come together in a cluster, and we refer to them as consonant blends or consonant clusters. Please note that when we refer to these clusters, we are only talking about consonants that come beside each other as part of the same syllable. There are other times that consonants may appear beside each other. However, they exist as part of 2 separate consonants or 2 separate syllables. In this case, we are referring to 2 very distinct sounds that are placed next to each other as part of the same syllable. You may be wondering why blends are so important to learn. If this is the case, know that it is because blends can help you both spell and pronounce new words. Blending is one tool that you can use when you are decoding new vocabulary, as they stay together when you are dividing syllables. These consonant blends are important to understand, and they are also important to know how to produce. For some ESL learners, these can be easy to pronounce. However, it is common to have challenges with blending. This can occur for a number of reasons. First of all, it can be challenging because many consonant blends use the R and L sounds, which can present their own challenges with pronunciation for many learners. If you are still struggling with making these sounds clearly, I do recommend trying to master the difference between them before moving on to the blends. The second reason that this can be challenging is because it can sound quite foreign to some learners to put 2 consonant sounds beside each other without having a vowel in between. For an example, in the Korean language, the structure of the language itself is built so that 2 separate consonant sounds can only come as part of the same syllable when they are separated by a vowel sound. These challenges, among others, can make blending a challenge. However, we are going to approach blends in the same way that we approached the individual sounds of English, one at a time and with plenty of practice. In some cases, we may also complete a set of blends in a single video, but it will still be accompanied by plenty of practice. Today, we are going to start learning how to do blending with the QU sound. QU is often mistaken for a digraph, or a single sound represented by more than one letter. If you remember, there are several digraphs that we have already learned during our time working with the sounds of English. However, in the case of QU, even though it is written as a consonant and a vowel, the sound produced is actually that of 2 consonants, the K sound and the W sound. Something interesting and important to note as you learn English is that this letter combination is actually special because Q cannot exist on its own in English. It always needs to be paired with a U. This helps us when we are trying to spell a word that uses the letter Q, as I can pretty much guarantee you that the next letter will always be a U. When we are reading or seeing a word for the first time, therefore, that uses a QU, we know that the sound being produced is actually qua. Since this is true in nearly every case, many native English speakers actually consider this combination to be a single sound instead of a blend of 2 sounds, which is actually what it is. Let's try each sound separately and then together, faster and faster, until we hear the sound clearly. K, wa, qua, 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 qua. Excellent work. We hear this blend quite frequently in English, so let's try some practice words using this sound. Quiz, quest, quilt, quiet, quota, quite, quote, quick, queer, queen, queasy, quarter, question, quantity, earthquake, aqua, equal, liquid, consequence, adequate, sequel, require, prerequisite, conquest, frequent. Please note that most of the time we will see this sound at the beginning of a word and sometimes in the middle of a word. However, English words do not end with QU typically. Another important thing to note is that sometimes the QU spelling can be confusing because the pronunciation can also simply be the K sound without the W in some words. For example, unique. Let's try a small string of words using this sound. The consequences of the quiet earthquake required the queen to end her quest. The consequences of the quiet earthquake required the queen to end her quest. Thanks for joining me today as we began our journey with blends. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and let me know if there is a specific lesson that you would like me to create. Bye for now.